Okay. So yes. Well, actually, I'm currently working at TIM, but before taking my master's degree, I did an internship at ISTAT with Prof. Barbara Baldazzi, and this is what we worked on together. So this is a project study for mapping on educational poverty. And okay, so as we know, we say that a child or a young person finds themselves in a situation of educational poverty when their right to learn, train, develop his skills, competencies, well, you can read it also, is not guaranteed. And educational poverty, as we know, is a multidimensional phenomenon, which not only depends on the educational offer in and outside of school, but also on socioeconomic factors and material factors, such as, for example, the region where one lives. So since it's a multidimensional phenomenon, we thought it might be useful to try and frame it in the 2030s agenda framework. So the 2030s agenda was adopted in 2015 by the UN with the aim of ending poverty, protecting the planet, and granting prosperity to everyone by 2030, with keeping in mind that no one should be left behind. So it is articulated within 17 goals, and each one of these goals is made of several targets for a total of 165. And for each one of these targets, we have some indicators for a total of 247. Then some of these indicators are shared between goals, so they are 231 distinct indicators. So goal 4 is the goal of quality education for everyone. And so it's our main goal here. And in this picture, we can see the so-called interlinkages between goal 4, quality education, and the other 16 goals. In blue, these blue lines connect goals which share more than 10 indicators. In red, we have medium links between 4 and 10 indicators, and in light blue, which you can see, I think, we have light links. So quality education is mainly linked with the goal of no poverty, goal 3 for good health and well-being, and then with gender equality and decent work and economic growth. So, as I said, educational poverty is a multidimensional phenomenon, and as we know, it affects economic inequality because, as we know, lower degrees of education are usually linked to lower opportunities on the job market. So in this book by OECD, they distinguish between inequality of opportunity or ex ante and inequality of outcome or ex post. So when we talk about inequality of opportunity, we refer to how different circumstances are faced by individuals are, and they are usually supposed to be involuntarily inherited or faced. So it's something that happens to people. It's not something they make for themselves. And then we have inequality of outcome. So, for example, we can see economic well-being, income, etc., as outcomes. So they are clearly linked, as we can see from this picture, which is taken directly from the book. So on the left, we have circumstances, which are supposed to be, as I said, either inherited or faced by individual. And some of them are observed, for example, gender or gender or place of birth, and other ones are unobserved, for example, the values you grew up with, for example. Here we have preferences, and in this case, we suppose that they are independent from circumstances, and they might, for example, result from life experiences or have other reasons behind them. So circumstances and preferences contribute to individual decisions or efforts, and along with some economic factors. For example, someone might be more or less prone to accept a certain salary, for example, based on the situation they come from. Like if I'm, for example, used to a certain life standard, maybe I'll be less prone to accept a lower wage, for example. So we have individual decisions, which, along with some market mechanisms or policies, lead to certain outcomes. So we have circumstances, preferences, and individual decisions resulting in some outcomes. But as we can see from this arrow here at the top, circumstances might also affect outcomes without interacting with individual decisions. This is, for example, the case of gender discrimination or discrimination based on other circumstances again. So yes, as we said, well, this is what I was saying, that outcomes depend directly from individual decisions in the economic sphere, but also indirectly from some personal traits and parental influence. So there is a link between inequality of opportunity and outcomes, but also, well, I didn't show it in the picture before, but there was a dotted line that connected outcomes with the circumstances. And this is the case of intergenerational transmission of inequality. So, like I said at the beginning, one of the, we could say, mottos of the 2030 agenda is to leave no one behind. And so there shouldn't be, in an ideal world, any inequality between different areas. So to study the situation in Italy, we use the INVALSI scores in Italian and mathematics, just to give an idea of what's the situation like right now. And we use the data from the 8th grade students in the school year 2018-2019. And these are the WLE scores. So estimates of the ability in this case in Italian and mathematics made using Rush's model. And the data are scaled so that the mean is equal to 200. So hopefully you can see the different colors, but it's very small. So here we plotted, you can see there, okay. So on the x-axis, we have the mean, and on the y-axis, we have the coefficient of variation, which is a measure of variability, which in this case, we used to have an idea of, again, inequality between regions in the first two plots and between provinces in the latter two plots. So the tendency you will see is the same for all 4 plots. So we tend to have a negative relation between the mean and the coefficient of variation, meaning that it seems that higher levels of ability in mathematics and in Italian are usually associated with a lower inequality, and vice versa. So in all these plots, we will see that mainly that basically all regions or provinces with mean WLE score, even in Italian or in mathematics, are either in the south of Italy or in islands. So, and that usually the regions performing better are those in northeast of Italy. We have this exception also in mathematics of Valle d'Aosta, but generally the regions that seems to go better are those in the northeast. Center regions and northwest regions have a relatively good situation. So in mathematics, it's the graph is very similar. So I'm not going to stay too much on this slide. Oh, sorry. And okay, and this is on a provincial level. Basically, what we saw on a regional level is still valid. We do have more provinces in the center of Italy, which with a WLE score that's lower than the mean, but then we still find that most the regions that do better are in the northeast part of the country, and both in Italian and in mathematics, the province that seems to go better is Sondrio. In this plot, we do see there is an outlier in Italian, which is Prato, la province of Prato, where not only the WLE score is pretty low because it's less than 190, but especially we can find that the variability is very high compared with the other provinces. In fact, if we see these two plots, this is Italian and this is mathematics, it might seem that we have much higher variability in mathematics and a much lower variability in Italian, but it's just that the scale is influenced by the presence of Prato with a very high level of variability. So the situation is, we can see that there is a certain level of inequality indeed. And so in order to better understand the situation in Italy, we try to find a set of indicators taken from the SDGs database. And what we found was this set of 42 indicators pertaining to 10 different goals. The most represented goals are goal 1, no poverty, goal 4, of course, quality education, and also goal 11 for sustainable cities and communities. And the other goals are goal 2, 5, 8. And to give you some example of the indicators we found useful, we have, for example, the AROPE, the at risk of poverty or social exclusion. We also have for goal 2 the prevalence of being overweight or obese between children aged between 3 and 17 years. We also have measures for the access to broadband connectivity and other indicators. So, and for each one of these, at least data disaggregation in north, south, and center is available. Most of them are also produced on a regional level, or even distinguishing between males and females, rural and urban areas, and so on a lower level. So to conclude, this is a complex phenomenon and also insidious because its effects not only pertain on job opportunities or expertise, but also on the development of critical thinking or emotional resources. So to cite Martha Nussbaum when she talks about the capabilities approach. She says that basically educational poverty reduces the possible answers to the question, what is this person able to do and to be, which is again, not only, it's not only going to affect your job. So as we have seen in the SDGs database, we do have numerous indicators that can be useful to evaluate educational poverty. Still, they focus only on material factors or socioeconomic factors. And so a whole set of implications, for example, on personal satisfaction or quality of life is left out. So there's still some work to do. So thank you for your kind attention. And I also would like to thank Prof. Barbara Baldazzi for being my tutor during my internship. And okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Mrs. Gentile, for your contribution, presentation, which reminds us the complexity of the factors that affect educational poverty and the need to further investigate a set of indicators that can provide us with such a complex measurement. I leave the floor to questions, if there are, please.
Thank you so much. Okay, so, okay. Hi. Oh, thank you so much for the presentation. Well, I am an admirer of Martha Nussbaum, actually, and Amartya Sen, who inspired, actually.
Yes, work together. Yes.
Exactly. Can you please tell me a bit more about what way the work of Martha Nussbaum inspired your work? So in terms of enabling, because Martha Nussbaum writes about enabling capabilities, right? In what, if you can give to me a couple more sentences about in what terms you used the approach of Martha Nussbaum.
Okay, so we
Thank you.
Reading Martha Nussbaum with this approach to capabilities, which not only focuses on, like for example, educational poverty, but on a whole set of capabilities that one person should have. So we have critical thinking, emotional resources. These are health. These are all aspects that are very relevant, and maybe when thinking about educational poverty, one might be tempted or might leave out because it's not so easily measurable. And so personally, what I found most interesting when reading Martha Nussbaum, because I didn't know it, I didn't study at university, was the idea of benchmarks. I think it was the words she used. So that the idea that everyone should be brought to a certain level, to a certain base level, and that's the bare minimum one should expect from institutions, from the state. So the idea that everyone should be brought to a certain level to start. Because as we know, one might be tempted again to intervene on the outcomes, but researchers show that it's more useful also on a collective level to work on inequality of opportunity, because it also helps on a sorry, I don't know how to say it in English. It helps the whole community to perform better, like, because if there's inequality of opportunity, those that start from a lower level may not feel so, again, so like maybe you don't feel like it's worth it to study, to do better, because you know that you start from a lower point. And also those who come from better situations, they might think that, well, whatever, why do I have to work so hard if I know that the road is going to be easy for me? So society, the whole society is not going to get sorry, I can't find the words today. So it's going to be a problem for everyone. Everyone should be at the same level, and this will not only benefit those with who come from more difficult situations, but also other people. Everyone. Okay.
Thank you. This is a concept very near next to our definition, Save the Children definition for educational poverty. And we think that almost the same things that the society must provide, most of all deprived areas with educational opportunities. Educational, that means sport opportunities, cultural opportunities, reading opportunities. We have a lot of projects in Italy in the deprived areas, and we know that there are areas where nothing is happening, no library, no theater, no cinema, and children grow up with no idea of a future different from the one they live there without anything. So thank you.
Thank you.
There are any other question? Yes.
Grazie, sì. Scusate le spalle. Have you considered to stratify or control your analysis by students' citizenship? Because I think that students' citizenship is the main source of variation of inequalities. And for example, in the case of Prato, in Prato, among 1/6 and 1/5 of students at that grade is Chinese. And I think this is interesting because it's not only the fact of being a foreign student, but even nationality matters. Because, for example, being a Chinese is totally different from being Romanian, because Romanians speak Italian. In Italy, the Asiatic people, Chinese, but also people from India, from Pakistan, they have huge problems with language. For example, because at home they speak foreign language. And I think this is a very interesting and promising point, because INVALSI data provides some proxy of the nationality of the students. Because there is a question which is submitted to foreign students about the language they speak at home. And I think that's a proxy, that's something which can help to stratify population by nationality, which could be, I think, an improvement in this kind of analysis, which is very interesting.
Oh, yes, I think it would be very interesting and helpful to do that. This work was made in less than 2 months, because my internship unfortunately was very short. So, but also I can say from other experiences that that it's definitely true. It was a whole other context, but just to tell a story. When I got my bachelor's degree, I did my thesis was on the prevalence of children work in Peru. It was Peru. And what we found was that the main predictor for children works was their first language, because in Peru you don't only speak Spanish, but they have various dialects, and so there, and I guess it's also what you were saying for Chinese people, that apart from nationality, what matters is maybe what language you speak at home. So maybe in some kind of communities, they tend to speak more their or language of origin instead of Italian if they come to. But either way, to answer, yes, I think that would be helpful and important. So maybe if someday there will be, maybe if we continue to work on this, we should definitely try and take that into consideration. So yes, thank you.
Okay, I thank all the speakers for the relevant contributions and the audience for their attention. And I give you the appointment to the expert roundtable that will take place in half an hour.